Today was the day of face-off in court when lawyers for Donald Trump and the DOJ met in court today for the first time since FBI agents raided Mar-a-Lago. NewsNation's Brian Entin is at the courthouse in West Palm Beach, Florida, where a judge heard arguments for a special master in the case. Brian?
Yeah, Mike, no decision so far tonight, but it was interesting. It was an hour-and-a-half long hearing. The DOJ made very, very clear that they do not believe there needs to be a special master because they say they've already got this independent panel of Department of Justice lawyers going over all the documents to look and see if anything is privileged. But the Trump lawyer said, look, in order for us to fully trust this process, we believe there has to be an outside person keeping an eye on all of this. Former President Trump's legal team enters the federal courthouse in Palm Beach County, Florida. It is the first time Trump's attorneys and DOJ prosecutors were together in the same courtroom since the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago last month. They're debating whether a special master should be appointed to the case. That person would review the documents taken from the former president's resort to determine whether they are privileged. The DOJ argues a special master is not needed because it will delay the criminal investigation. Prosecutors say a government filter team is already reviewing the documents for attorney-client privilege, and because there has been no indictment or arrest, Trump doesn't have a right to have a special master. They emphasize the United States owns the classified documents, not the former president. But Trump's attorneys argued a special master will give Americans more confidence in the process. They said we need to lower the temperature on both sides and take a deep breath. The lawyers called out selective leaking on behalf of the government and compared the situation to an overdue library book. After about an hour and a half, the lawyers left the courthouse with no decision made.
Do you think the former president will be indicted?
Trump-appointed federal judge Eileen Cannon said she would rule in a written order. And the judge did acknowledge, Mike, that this is an unprecedented situation. And it was interesting when she responded to the DOJ argument. She said, look, I don't think this is cut and dry the way you're putting it, that there definitely doesn't have to be a special master in this case. So it's going to be interesting to see how she rules. She says she'll be making a written ruling. Exactly when that will come, we don't know. Mike?
All right, that was one of the questions I had, when. And it's interesting because that judge over the weekend, a lot of people raised their eyebrows, said she was predisposed to a special master. But the former president himself, President Trump, often claimed that since he declassified the documents found at Mar-a-Lago, then nothing improper could have occurred. But his lawyers didn't seem to make that same argument in court. And so why is that?
Yeah, so they didn't outright make that argument. They certainly alluded to it a couple of times. It seemed like today, though, they really focused on the fact that they believe that some of these documents could be privileged. And they basically said that they don't trust the Justice Department. You know, these are Justice Department lawyers. Granted, they claim to be totally independent from a different part of the Justice Department that's on this panel reviewing the documents. But they said, look, to have full transparency for the American people to really trust what's going on, they believe there needs to be a special master.
Okay, Brian Entin on the job there in West Palm Beach. We appreciate it very much. Have a great night. Okay, we are just weeks out from the 2022 midterm election, and voters have made it clear what will send them to the polls. A new Pew Research poll shows that 77% of voters will show up on Election Day because of the current state of the U.S. economy. Guns and crime come in second and third place at 62% and 60%, respectively. But right now, political conversation is being dominated by other things, like the Justice Department's ongoing investigation into those secret documents that Brian was just talking about, allegedly retrieved from Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida, at least according to the government, and the escalating war of words between Democrats and Republicans as the red meat is being served up to the base now in heaping portions. And joining me now is radio host Dan O'Donnell, along with lawyer and former D.C. Democratic Party chair Scott Bolden. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us tonight. I'd like to start with Scott, if you would. President Biden's speech is coming up in just 10 minutes or so, make it 14. And so I want to know what you expect to hear from him and why is the president taking this tack right now?
Well, I think you're going to hear about his dialogue on saving the nation, if you will. He's going to be talking about Democrats. He's going to be talking at MAGA Republicans, not all Republicans, about our democracy, and really January 6th, the big lie, and why it's tearing this country apart. And even Republicans who would tolerate it or kind of fall in line, even though they're not, quote, MAGA Republicans, those who supported January 6th, those who support the big lie, those running on those issues. I think the president feels very strongly now is the time to talk about it. It's before the midterms. He's got some legislative wins, and he's going to speak to the country about saving the democracy.
Okay, Dan, so if President Trump is his presence, looming presence on the campaign trail is good for Democrats, a lot of people believe that it is, including some Republicans. Today, he said he's going to pardon everybody when he becomes president again that was participated in January 6th. Is that a problem for Republicans and good for Democrats if President Trump is still in the headlines?
Well, I mean, you heard just how giddy we were to talk about the big lie and the threats to democracy of people daring to vote for someone other than Democrats. So, yeah, in as much as the media goes along with this nonsense, when you've got 8.5% inflation being celebrated as a massive win for the president because it's down from 9.1%, and they need to edit Wikipedia 42 times so that the American people don't think that the Biden economy has dipped into a recession. Anything to get people not to focus on the state of the economy and how badly total Democrat control in just 18 months has nosedived it. Yeah. It could be Trump. It could be Kevin McCarthy. It could be talking. They'll accuse Mitch McConnell of staging an insurrection if it'll get people to stop focusing on the terrible state of the economy this close to the election.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've got out of control crime since 2020. Basically, Democrat rule at every level has been a disaster. So, yeah, let's focus on how Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, because Democrat rule is pretty much a threat to the American pocketbook and the threat to the American safety as it comes to big city living.
I think I like the way you turn that around. The deflect and pivot, you hit all of the things that you think Republicans should be talking about.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.